Here we are today in the Africana Institute at Essex County College. Came into my office today and we had an opportunity to talk to Dosso Kassimou from the African Commission here in the city of Newark. Dosso, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Well, we're excited to have you here, man. And what I wanted to jump right into the whole discussion and talk to you about the African Commission. Mm-hmm. So can you tell me a little bit about the African Commission and how it got started and why in the city of Newark?
Well, it's here perpetually because it's part of a city government. It's like a city entity, so to speak. There's many commissions actually in the city. The African Commission is one of the many commissions we have. But the African Commission is pretty different in terms of a mission and what we do, and pretty active, and the goal we're trying to reach is different than any other commission, because we are trying to bridge in the gap among the people from African descent and empowering our community, whether it's economically, politically, or intellectually, spiritually, culturally. So basically, it draws a little bit toward Pan-Africanism, in the ways, and so it's a lot different. But right now we treat it as any other commission, and which we are trying to really fight to change a little bit in a way that we are given more legitimacy, more help, more support, so to speak. And basically that's a challenge. But in terms of other access to everything the city has, yes, we do. We do have access to every resource that the city has. So we're part of the city entity, city government. That's why it's public. So everybody can be member of African Commission. We don't have a membership drive because everybody typically is member. Our meetings are open. All the meetings are held in the city hall. So basically it's a public organization. But the goal is to pretty much really tie that bridge among the people of African descent and really galvanize everybody toward the African culture and the central identity, which I think is a problem because the way Africa is regarded is not good. So, and people from Africa descent won't be proud being called Africa descendant if whatever thing will come from Africa is bad. So it's our duty and a moral obligation to really try to portray Africa differently than the 1,000 movies wanted it to be. So that's why we're doing it, and then I think it's a very great organization. Everybody should be part of it. Everybody should come together because in the tri-state, it's one of the most important organizations in the tri-state period, which is still standing, that everybody want to count on. So we are very diverse in a way that it doesn't belong to any particular country. So that's what makes a strength to the African Commission. It's not a 501c3 that can be dissolved anytime. So it doesn't have a 501c3. It's a government entity, but it's just purely about the African tradition, culture, cultural identity, bridging gaps.
So tell me some of the things that the African Commission has done.
Oh, the African Commission has been doing a lot of great stuff. It was created in 2007, but we only got sworn in 2008, January 18, 2008. We started to work from 2008 until now. First event we did was a diaspora picnic. You see, we use the terminology diaspora. Diaspora means everybody from Africa descent, period. So we did the African diaspora picnic, and this was great. A lot of people participated. I think, in my knowledge, it was the first time we actually saw various people from Africa descent coming together, because usually you got African, even people from a continent, by country, Nigerian, Ghanaian, Ivorian, everybody's by group. But this was like a kind of like a very different. Everybody from every country of Africa was represented in Newark was there, and an African American, of course, and then in the Caribbean. I mean, it was great. It was a great day. And then we have the African Diaspora Soccer Tournament, which was also diverse. And then we'll move on to partner with the African Institute of Essex County College, and we did the Bridging the Gap Symposium. So basically, that's an intellectual symposium, dealing with different panels from our history to culture to politics to economy to everything. So how do we get our folks from the first wave of diaspora, African American and Caribbean, linked to Africa, continental Africa, in terms of business, in terms of bridging all these little barriers, which are mostly social construct in our own mind, the stereotypes, and bring those down and begin to look at ourselves as a one people, one destiny, and one origin. So we've been doing a really wonderful job with African Institute, and this is keep going, we'll keep on improving on that. So, and then also we did the African Diaspora Festival. Last year was our 3rd annual. And then again, we partnership with African Institute and African Newark International. And this year we're going for the 4th annual, and we decided the 4th annual, we need to shut the park down with amount of people. So We are getting prepared to bring in various farmers, famous and notorious artists, musicians from across the world, probably from Africa, some of them in Europe. So basically we're trying to bring Africa into America. We're even working on bringing the African village into America. We're bringing the African village to Newark. This is no joke. This is serious. We've been working with some serious artists from Africa right now to bring some authentic African village pre-made into containers and ship them here. So people who don't have luxury to go to Africa, who haven't traveled before, probably thinking how was Africa like 2,000 years ago, to have an opportunity right down there, free, outside, to see the African village, how the African village is, how life used to be 3,000 years ago. So this is our objective. So our goal is to really make people proud of being from the continent of Africa. And that's a great thing, because in the end of the day, Africa, even despite all the war people have in Africa, I mean, it's still the richest land on earth in terms of natural resources. So the world economy won't function without Africa. You won't eat no chocolate if Africa is not a part of the game. Your coffee, you drinking, all these big franchise, you won't have them if it's in Africa. Without Africa, you won't have all these tires, you driving all these Firestone cars. Africa is the answer. So we want to just open the eyes of our brothers and sisters, say, hey, the movement is going toward Africa again. So what's your place? What's your position? What role you gotta be playing? You just want to stay inside and talk about just the past, or do you want to move toward the future with another destiny? Mm-hmm. So then you join the African Commission, because that's the attitude that we have, and that's what we gotta continue to pursue.
What motivated you to be Mr. Africa, as we like to call you? What motivated you to be the chairperson of the African Commission?
I think it's a call. I think it's just maybe the creator wanted me to do this. And I also just want to give a lot of thanks to the predecessors, all these ancestors who paved the way for me coming from the continent, grew up in the continent, born and raised there, to come here, get all these great educations, and then be involved to give back to the community. I think everybody's born for a purpose, and it's true, it's challenging, it's free, and I got paid for that. But I think if I look at it, I get proud, because I think people before me did even more than I do. And then I think because of them, I'm here today and enjoying all this great education I receive. I think it's my duty, as much as I'm alive and healthy, to continue to build this bridge that I think bring our people together.
I want to push you on that, right? Because I want us to think about somebody who's recently coming from the continent, and you have all these brothers and sisters here in the Americas and in the islands and in Central and South America who've made it possible for all the recent migrants to come. What do you think about that?
Well, it's very sorry if I don't see like I see, because the basic thing, humanity is a history, and I'm very well grounded because I got the basic history. When I was growing up, the first history I got from my grandmothers, it was like in a rural area in the villages, and then I got better history when I started to go to school. So I'm somebody that always has questions why things are the way they are, just asking why. And the history of slavery, for example, that really touched me a lot personally, because from my tribe, my upbringing, I was told by my father and my grandfather that my forefathers were part of those that were fighting against the Western involvement in Africa. So that got me a little bit of edge that I'm part of those descendants that didn't like injustice to our people. And I got educated further. So I really don't see too much the difference between me and the first diaspora. The only difference, probably, I got some cultural ground that I kept, and they lost that. And then in the end of the day, it's always my prayer that they will probably come back somehow to contribute to make Africa great than it is right now. So I see it in that way. So I'm sure some other African will see this line too, but not too many, which is sad to say. And I think mostly have to do with ignorance as well. And then because I know if it was not for Rosa Parks, who said she would no longer sit in the back of a bus, that triggered some type of passion from a young preacher taking us to the mountaintop. And then I think I would not be here. So I appreciate that mountaintop we are in. So I want to even take it further to see even taking how the sky's the limit. So that's the goal. And I think, and that's why we will be working to make sure all the young children in the schools and even adult and senior citizens understand that we are in this together. Maybe different sphere, but it's the same thing, same fight, same battle, but different ground.
So you hinted at something about Pan-Africanism. Tell me about your understanding of Pan-Africanism and how it fits within the African Commission. Is Pan-Africanism today still the answer?
Pan-Africanism, you see, I see it this way, through history, from what I learned, through reading. I think that defending our identity as a people, and I think it's very, very important, because without that, then the culture is wiped away, and we don't exist in somehow. And then that battle go back and forth in between forces that even say that African didn't have a civilization, for example, that we just got there, just by fate. So those the issues that made me really great Pan-African. And then I'm drawing from other Pan-African, like Marcus Garvey's and all these folks that really inspired me, that they wanted to be a defendant of a race. And not to be racist, but defending who you are and your values is very important in life. Without that, you don't exist. So I think that's what drew me to making sure that protecting who they were, our value and our cultural identity, and then as a group of people, and our interest in this new world. That make me really gear toward Pan-Africanism and give me granted that I should not change where I am or trying to fabricate some of this stuff. So I try to be grounded. At the same time, yes, being educated in modern days, but doesn't mean that I should avoid where I am and change my identity or my culture or my upbringing. I think it's very great to be who you are, but make sure you are respected and your values are respected, and your culture, your tradition, your belief.
Now, you said something here that I want to get into for at least for a minute here. You talked about people being racist and defending the race. First, I would say that the people of African descent can't be racist. We have to think about that the idea of racist is different than prejudice. That racist and racism, it deals with power, and deals with power and control of a group of folks over a group of folks, not just one individual over another. And so we have to think about it from that perspective. And somebody who studies race and racism for many years now, I always want to make sure that we bring that to the table, because folks always say, well, that black people or that Latino people are racist. The reality is that they can't be, because racism deals with power. And so that, if you look at folks who talk about race and racism, that you begin to understand that power base is embedded in wealth and a lot of other things that we may not have time to get into today. But we're going to make sure we dedicate a show to that and we talk about what that really means.
That's great. I mean, it'll be great to have that discussion. Definitely, I employ your knowledge on that, because we all get confused about when you talk about race, you're racist. So kind of, this is a sensitive topic moving forward. But I think this is a great qualification. I need to do more reading on that topic to really understand.
So let me follow up with you on the idea of Pan-Africanism. Do you see the African Union as the focal point for Pan-Africanism? Do they take Marcus Garvey's ideas? Do they take W.B. Du Bois's ideas? Do they take all these concepts and take them to the next level?
Well, I mean, that's a very good question. I think, to be honest with you, the idea for Pan-African and Marcus Garvey, all those folks have died with Kwame Nkrumah, died with Sekou Touré, and he would die with Jomo Kenyatta. All these great leaders, really, we had the vision of bringing Africa together without any interest attached. But right now, the modern African Union, well, you see, Africa is a theater of war every day, and it's no longer between African and the European face to face. Even what I'm talking about, geopolitics, trigger through all this. But I believe that Africans right now are killing Africans. Like you take a Darfur, for example, it's the black killing black. So you go to some of these countries, I won't name, but right now they're fighting civil wars among themselves. So what the African Union is doing, so our people still calling the European to bring the tanks to save them. Libya was a great case. People were crying, now bring the tanks. But I think if we take our own issue on our own shoe and try to clean our own house. So we avoid the outsider from bringing the tanks. So since we're not able to do that, so basically the outsider brings his tank because the African Union could bring his tank. So African Union could bring their soldiers, and then we will not have an outside soldier coming. But since the African Union is not really effective, I believe it's not effective, and it's not. So we're having all these problems going on in the continent. And I think the African Union ideal that Kwame Nkrumah had before, that was the idea that was supposed to make Africa successful, but it failed. It failed, and then how do we get it back? That's a big question. And then I think it will take a lot of contribution, a lot of thinking, a lot of strategy. It's doable. It just has to be sacrificed. How many people are willing to sacrifice?
You have been someone who's given back in a lot of different ways. But in addition to doing the things that you've done, you also created a nonprofit called Sanji, and you're making a great contribution to Africa. But tell us more about what it is that you're doing and why.
You know, I was in diplomacy school, 2008, and then we get always speakers in our school talking about what they do in Africa and so forth. And then once I asked some question about, can you show me evidence of what you've done concretely in Africa? And they never seem to give me any answer. Oh yeah, we give our donation to such and such a non-profit, that's such and such. Anytime I travel on the continent, I see that things are getting worse, especially in the rural area in Africa. So I decided to create a non-profit called Sanji. Sanji basically is a Mandingo word. That's my tribe. Mandingo means rain. So my belief was that Africa needs a cleansing rain, which will wash away all this hard feelings, all this the hardship, and wipe it away. So with Sanji, we decided to change lives in the rural area, one project at a time. So our first project basically was a medical drive, which we did in a rural area. We raised money, purchased the medication, and then we went to the rural people. And then second of all, we did a peace building soccer competition. We said if we want to bring everybody together, the good way to do it is through soccer. That's Africa. People love soccer. So in the rural area, people don't have them. They have pretty much nothing. I mean, it's just sad. They have nothing. Even soccer jersey is rare to pass by. So I said, well, Sanji provide all the uniform, provide transportation. All you have to do, come to play in diversity and for peace. And they responded. Initially, we wanted 4 teams. We ended up having 40 villages playing. So it was successful. And our last project that we did, 2009, we just built a primary school in Korozua, modern primary school. So which was a great, school like a farmer children. It's modern, clean water, sanitation, electricity, and then a canteen. So we're ready to do it again. This is my heart in a way because it's about helping people, and I know I'm making a difference. I give them something and they feel it and they receive it, and it's a great feeling.
You came from Côte d'Ivoire to Newark, and you had something that led you to believe that your involvement here was important. Côte d'Ivoire is having some of its own challenges right now. Mm-hmm. So what do you think are the answers to the type of challenges that Côte d'Ivoire is having? And that's a place where you have something that's going on, that you have tangible evidence, you have people on the ground. How do you see yourself being here and being able to influence that situation?
Well, I do it a different way. I travel to Côte d'Ivoire many times. I go back and forth. I talk to people almost every day. So I'm here, but I'm there too. I'm there in the spirit, and I try to do the change I can make on my own, being here, using resources I can get from my brothers and sisters from here, and then changing life over there. But at the end of the day, it's about teaching. I think democracy in Africa, when it was given to us, I believe it was given to us like a bicycle, which has like a flatted wheel. You give somebody a brand new bicycle, but the wheel is no tires, no hair in the tire. So it really can't go far with it. So the understanding of a modern democracy in Africa, it really is not well grasped. A lot of people don't know what is about modern democracy. We took away the traditional way of democracy. We didn't have democracy in Africa. It was a Republican democracy. Because you go to the village, you see the way they do the court system, the rules and the law and the regulation. So it was great. So what happened after colonialism, we wiped away the traditional way of Africa and said, well, let's embrace modern democracy, and we don't even know how to use it. So people don't understand how to be accountable. That's a problem. So the rule of law is not the center of a government. So right now I'm getting my doctorate in public affairs administration, and my hope is to really train people how to be public administrator, how to be a public servant, because being a public servant is almost like being a slave for the people. How many people are willing to sacrifice? So those are the people who need to form to be in leadership position, for people to have a job so they can have a choice, have a choice of own, decide their own. That's why Africa will be really stable. Otherwise, we'll probably be going back and forth until we really get some good leadership in there and changing people's life in a way that will be stable.
I'm Gary Williams. When I'm not coaching the Terrapins basketball, I'm committed to the fight against cancer. A lot of men put off colon cancer screening and think if they aren't having a problem, then why bother? Man to man, your best defense against colon cancer is to talk to your doctor about screening. Fear the turtle, don't fear colon cancer screening.
A message from the University of Maryland School of Medicine, the Terrapins, and the American College of Gastroenterology.
I always pay more than the minimum balance on my credit card.
I just opened an education IRA for my kids.
I never invest more money than I can lose.
How are you saving for your future? Find out more great ways to save for your future and choose to save.
Every day, thousands of people are diagnosed with macular degeneration, a disabling eye disease that leads to severe vision loss. As a scientist conducting research for the American Health Assistance Foundation, I want you to know that there is hope that a cure and new treatments for macular degeneration will soon be found, but only if we can continue our groundbreaking research. Learn about my research. Call 1-800-437-2423 or visit ahaf.org for free publications on eye disease.
Dosso, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming out and taking the time to share with us the information about the African Commission, about Sanji, and why you believe it's important to come here to the United States and work hard and do the contribution you do. And I want to thank you for joining us for another episode of The Pulse. This is Dr. Khalfani, and I'll see you next time.